go with the gilt that's basically a complete opposite end of the spectrum there from the last gilt that we just looked at, this little blue gilt here. That's, you know, a little tighter bodied, a little harsher ribbed, probably has as much natural expression and shape up high as what you would want in a 50-pound baby pig. So I guess, guys, kind of walk through maybe what you see with this one and really where you ought to, where we think we need to go now that she's home.
Now, we haven't seen these videos, but I've got a strong guess what Blake's going to say, so I'm going to sit back
Me
and see
too.
what he says.
Are you guys talking about that smooth?
Hey, maybe. I don't know.
I would say that on the gilt front, I like that one's kind. To me, she looks late mature and she's elevated, linked to her cannon. That gilt to me has got a big ceiling. I still think it's important. I want to drive this in today that regardless of how skinny you think she is, if you don't train them to eat, they're never going to do what you want. So I still think you got to bring her home and make her squeal a little bit and be okay with looking at her skinny for 2 to 3 weeks. But I do think this is one a guy can go, you know, into a like a 3/4 starter, 3/4 18 if she cleans it up. And if not, back it down and keep your 18 higher than your starter. And then I think we can mix in some 18 and smooth, and a guy might be able to set back and hit a home run.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot to kind of digest on what Blake said, and I want to take a couple of pieces out of that. And really, before we get in the let's just have a little discussion about training. I think that's good animal husbandry. And I think what Blake's referencing, you can correct me on this, for you guys that are kind of getting started, when you get a pig home, that is the most stress they've ever been through. Most of them have been in a very controlled environment. Heat, wind, humidity, everything's been the same. Some of them have never left the same pen. And even though your barn might be better or worse than the one that's in this video, the fact that it's different is a stressor in their life, okay? And so anytime there's a difference or stress, some animals will eat more and some of them will go off a feed. When we say go off, a lot of people will just try to put as much feed in front of them as they can all the time. And that's the way they were raised, and they're healthy when you get them. The issue with doing that is we just can't monitor what they're eating. And so we don't know if they're spilling a lot of it or they're not eating at all. And if we do have a feed outage where they're not eating, we don't know it for a longer period of time. So what Blake's talking about doing is feeding 2 individual feedings, both morning and night, and giving them a time to eat that, whatever you think's fair on that, and then removing that feed from them and then coming back. Pigs that have an audible response around feed, if they're squealing and they're ready, that's just like our dogs that bark around feeding time. It just doesn't sound the same, but our pigs do squeal before we eat, and they drop their head in the trough and get to eating. We usually wait around. We pull feeders, particularly the ones that don't eat. I'm yanking feeders, and I want them psychologically ready to eat. And so, Blake, is that kind of what you're talking about with training them to eat?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be honest, I've been in when Ty was showing, I'd go into the barn at 6 o'clock at night, and sometimes it wouldn't squeal till 7:30, so they wasn't getting fed till they started squealing. So that's, I mean, a lot of the same. I think that more pigs get ruined by getting to do what they want early, to not reach their full potential late.
I don't get involved with a lot of the Facebook groups, but one of the most concerning things that I read on there is when a pig goes off a feed, they immediately panic and start offering things that are just not pig feed, cake mixes and other things. I think back to my kiddos that as they're growing, if they're not eating, I think there's more of a problem. I don't offer them dessert, and so I think addressing an issue, figure out what that problem is. And so there is a lot of psychology that goes in this with pigs. And so I just want to take a second and break down what you said. Back to the guild, you thought this would be a fun one to feed. And I tell you, the way you described her maturity pattern or how big she can get or how long she can take lean weight is really, really good to me because I think having muscle shape is a very good thing. It scares some people, and I think that would be a very, very good pig. Now, one of the things you talked about, and I want to kind of break into you a little bit, is you still have her on starter and 18G. Can you tell me, with a pig that's still got that much of an aggressive turn to her top, how you're keeping that that protein high, or what we call a hot. Why are you keeping her protein so hot so early still?
Well, I think that her most unique part about her would be her presence and her elevation. And I don't immediately want to take it all out of her. Personally, I like to keep just a little bit. I tell people, Belly is made at the show. Transition in their top line and smoothness. How do they come out of their shoulder into their loin is something you work on at home. So I wouldn't want to completely pull everything out of her, because I do think that the kind of her body type is not what you would say just the easiest fleshing. So I want to keep a little bit of bark pie, and give up a little belly, just to show how unique she is because of her presence and her shape.